Evening, John.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, Jeff, I was in the Air Force then, officer cadet.
Yes.
Ah,
How's everybody?
fine, fine.
Bored
Well,
off
to
our
be
schools?
Did you get your raised bed done, Jeff?
Raised
Your
bed.
raised beds that you were going to make.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yes, I did. Yeah,
You did good.
I
Good.
did those last week, a few days ago.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used all the old planks off my fence I took down.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
Good. Good.
Took me 2 days, but I did them.
Oh, that's not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I'm just telling Peter earlier, I'm running out of jobs now because the winter's coming in.
I know.
You're limited to what you can do.
Well, I'm going to put my onion sets in this weekend.
All right. Yeah.
Hmm.
I grow mine
This
from
way,
seed.
we don't have gardening jobs. We just get out there and hack and slay, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really don't like gardening.
Oh, I just find it nice and relaxing.
Yeah.
It rates on with cleaning the house for me. And we are getting very bad at that. We look
Still,
at it.
John, I grow
Sorry.
mine from seed, my onions.
Do you? Oh,
Yeah.
well done. Well done. You got a greenhouse?
Yeah, I've got one at home and I've got another big one down
Just-
the allotment. But
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah, of course. I forgot.
I germinate
Yeah.
them at home.
Mm.
Once they're big enough, I'll take
Yeah.
them down, plant them out.
Oh, I do. Yeah.
Lot cheaper than buying sets. Sets are easier, obviously.
Well, that's it. And I'm all for the
Yeah.
easy way. Yeah. Well, actually, I don't have a greenhouse anyway, so yeah.
All right.
And
Hello, Linda.
you're on mute.
Right, hi, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
How are you?
I haven't been too good today. I haven't been very well.
Oh, right.
Don't know why. Very terrible night. Just didn't sleep at all, or at all well. Kept waking up with pains in my stomach.
Mm.
You've been
And then
eating
I was very ropey this morning, but I feel a lot better now.
good.
Good.
Hi, Bill. Hi, Martin.
Hi.
Good evening.
Evening.
Some nice pictures of your garden, Linda, on Facebook. That was
Yeah, Facebook did it awful. Just it was the light was fantastic, but it didn't catch it. It didn't get it. It was just from the window, but the light was shining on that orange tree that made Asa in front of the window, and it was lovely, but it didn't quite get that nice light. But thank you.
yeah, it's limited what you can do on Facebook with pictures, really.
We've got Bill, we've got Sue. Who are we waiting for? Janet's, I've got a grey space for where Janet was. Hi, Janet.
What's going on behind there?
You can just turn your video off, Janet, and then you can still hear us.
She's just finishing a tapestry.
Oh, is that what it is?
Hello.
Hi, Bill. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Mm.
Jeff, how's it going with the 20 mile an hour in the centre of town? I notice cars are going slowly, but there's no signage.
Pass. I didn't even know it was in effect.
I thought it had started this week.
I think it's Monday, is it not Monday?
Is it next Monday? Oh, I must have misread.
I think it was in the paper today. I haven't read it properly, but I think it said next Monday.
All right. I had a really good experience with NCC this week. A gentleman contacted me, I think he contacted Janice as well, about outside the chocolate shop.
I think he contacted everybody.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't contact me. I had nothing about the chocolate shop.
Yeah, it's because people were parking
Yeah.
inside the yellow lines.
Yeah.
It was-
Well, that's been my bugbear for
Yeah, well, I got on to
ages.
Richard Mackenzie and Gordon. Gordon promised to see it through, Richard Mackenzie, and they were actually done yesterday. So that's
Yeah.
only 2 days. So the chap's really chuffed.
It was actually raised some time ago at a meeting. I can't remember which meeting.
Yeah.
It was actually, yes.
Jeff, I've raised it at the forum, I've raised it everywhere, and they did paint some yellow lines on it, but everybody was parking between the yellow line and the pavement, and that's not
Well, they've hatched it now, apparently, white markings.
good.
Also, I asked about the post because it says it's right at the end of that bit of where you can't park. And Richard Mackenzie suggests, or I suggested that, having spoken to the guys doing it, you could put an arrow on that sign to point which side. So whether that'll happen, I don't know.
Yes.
Who we're waiting for now?
Councillor Broom.
Oh, in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, he was very clever, that chap. It wasn't until after I replied to him, I thought, I wonder if he sent this to everyone.
Yeah.
What he's doing, instead of including everybody in the email, he's actually
Mm.
sent it to each individual council.
Yeah.
Yes, because I wasn't aware.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't get it.
I replied to him and I also contacted Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Mm.
So
I
he's
just,
got all of our opinions
Yes.
instead of one group opinion.
I just thought
think
because
we've all
I'm
said the
on
same.
autograph that they contact me first.
I don't know who the parking attendant with the American accent is then.
Oh, I
He's
do.
Canadian.
He can be grumpy.
John.
He
I
can
haven't
be
come
quite
across
grumpy.
him.
He is quite abrupt.
Portly. Quite
We've got-
portly.
Yeah, we've got two wardens. One of them is a very nice chap, the slim
Yeah, he
chap.
is.
Always smiling. He's really helpful.
That's right.
The bulkier chap who's Canadian is
Yeah.
very abrupt. I can understand why people think he's rude because if he writes a ticket, he's very abrupt about it. I actually got him to withdraw a ticket.
Did you?
Yeah, I think it was last summer. He was
Mm.
writing one out for a big van who had parked in the camper van spaces.
Okay.
And I said, look, I mean, I know he's not a camper van, but he is a big van. You give him a little bit of... And I did talk him out of it.
Mm.
But he is very short
Mm.
with people.
We're all here, Sue.
Right, if everybody's here, we'll get started. First part of the agenda, apologies, please.
Yeah, Councillor Simmons and Councillor Castle.
Right. Any declarations of interest?
We'll have some on grants.
Shall we
So if
wait
anyone's,
for the grants and then do it, or do it now?
I don't mind, we can do it. It just means that that person can't vote on that grant application.
Right. Minutes of the previous meeting. Peter, you were going to put them up on the screen.
Yeah, certainly.
They need approving first, Sue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mm.
Can we have a proposer and a seconder, please? Thank you, John.
There's a one amendment, I think. I think it was me who raised the question about whether the request for extra money for CCTV was actually because of the poor quality pictures, and it's down as Bill. But I mean, I'm happy if Bill would have raised the same thing, but I'm pretty sure it was me who raised it.
Do you want to go through this page by page then, or do we do an approval after any queries?
If someone's got a correction, I'll make it now and we'll approve the correction, Sue.
Okay, fine. Do we know about this, Peter?
I think Linda's point was that it was her comment rather than Councillor Grisdale's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Linda? So if that's the only amendment, we can vote on the minutes with that amendment in mind.
Okay. Sorry, John proposed, and who's the seconder? Linda seconded. All in favour? Thank you. I can't see everybody. That's a problem. I have to. Hopefully, everybody's agreed with that. Thank you. Now, have we got any queries? Can we go through it page by page, Peter?
We can, if I, yeah.
Page 1. Page 2. Can't see anything on there. Page 3.
Can I just ask?
Yes, yeah.
Asked whether there was any issue with regard to the precept if people were unable to pay their council tax this year. Did we get any response on that?
Sorry, could you say that again, Martin?
Yes, it's FP20.
Yeah, I asked whether there were any implications for the precept if the county council was to collect less money through council tax because people were struggling to pay, whether that would affect us or not in terms of our budget.
No, not that I'm aware of, Martin. That's never something that's sort of come to my attention before. I can double check that, but my understanding is no, it wouldn't.
And we've had this year's precept, so.
Okay. Is it worth checking just to be absolutely certain that?
Yeah, I mean, I can make some queries, but I mean, you know, people can't pay council tax in normal circumstances and the precept isn't affected, so I'd be very surprised if that was the case.
Okay, right, let's move along, please.
Sue, Patience has got her hand up, Sue.
Sue? I'm sorry, I can't see you. What is it?
You're on mute, Sue. Sue, Patience, you're on mute. Sue, we didn't hear anything. You're on mute.
Go.
Right, sorry, it's FP20/09 meeting programme post-September. Is there any movement on that at all?
Yeah, I've changed it. I meant sending it out today. I'm sorry, Sue. I have changed a couple of dates. So I've moved, so there's an earlier finance and policy, and I've swapped that for the recreation and amenities. So finance and policy now sits in March.
Great, thanks, Janet.
Also, I've just swapped them over, so there's no more than a 3-month gap between meetings now.
Yeah, that's great. Also, working towards resuming full real meetings rather than virtual meetings, spaced out and safe. Have we made any progress?
We can't do that. Regulations don't allow that now.
No.
Well, we're not talking about now. We're talking about the future, aren't we? And we've got to start doing some movement towards that.
Well, once we're out of restrictions, I thought that would be the time that we just resume as we did with spacing.
I think we are definitely going to have to
at the moment.
So what would you propose that we should do then when you say
well, we were looking, weren't we, to doing like a safe in a big enough space for those councillors that wanted to, moving towards being spaced out, safe. The venue would have to have the COVID regulations, you know, up to COVID regulations on it for being safe as well. And then we were going to look at large screens for those that didn't want to come to or couldn't come to the meetings because of the safety issues, and they were shielding.
Could we just suggest that we take this to next council and get an opinion from all the councillors and then work towards it from there? Would you be happy with that?
What, take it to a full council meeting?
I think so, because it's every councillor that's involved.
Yeah, sure.
So if you could just put that on the agenda for next time, and then we'll have a better idea of where everything is anyway in another 3 weeks.
Yeah, sure. It's just making small steps, isn't it? And kind of working towards something.
I think it's good to work towards it, but we're a bit stuck at the moment. Right, can we move on, Peter, please? Oh, that's the end of it. Okay. So no questions on that?
Just one.
Just one, John.
I've just wondered if anything had happened with the flag.
Yeah.
Oh, Janet's organised it, as far as I know.
A new flag, yes, I have. I've ordered a new flag for should be here next week.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you.
What kind of flag is it, Janet? Is it?
Oh, just a replacement union flag Sue had asked for.
Oh, God, well, the
but I
union's
have-
breaking up,
I
for
have-
heaven's sake.
Yeah, I thought we were going
I
to have a
have-
Northumbrian flag. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, but
Sorry, well, it won't be up till after Remembrance Day. I have sent them the Annick flag graphic that we sent to Norway for them to give me a price on hand making one. So
okay, good.
They don't normally take long, but probably a couple of weeks. But I would think that will replace the Union flag when it comes down after Remembrance Day. That's my aim.
Great.
Yay.
Right. Okay, good.
Okay. Moving on to the budget update.
Yeah, given that I think we lose visibility with people, I won't share the finance update, but either Janet or I will be able to ask any questions anybody has on it. I'm sure you've all looked at it in great depth. There's nothing major in there, Janet, is there, in terms of highlights?
No. No, I suppose it was just a flag that we've started spending kind of money out of the, for community action plan, other council priorities. So like the bus station feasibility goes in there. Heritage benches went in there. We've paid money for some of the new, the deposit on the new website. A bit of room hire. Oh, the room hire from St James's all came in quite late. So some of that is actually last year's, but we just didn't get the invoices in time to pay them. So that budget may go up slightly, although we're not using their room at all at the minute. So I think that's about all that I've added new this time. A little bit of stationery.
I'm not sure if it was reported at the last meeting because I wasn't there, but for those who know, the Junior Football Club have paid their first loan payment. I don't know if that came up last time, Janet.
Yeah, we did. It was on there last time. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any questions on the budget? No? Well, we'll move on to scribe accounts.
Yeah, again, hopefully relatively quick on this. We brought a few example reports from the accountancy package that I would like to see use going forward to a meeting. I think it was the last meeting, Janet. Again,
yeah, the last meeting. Yeah, we had a look at them. Yeah.
We haven't got all of the information in for this year into the system yet to fully demonstrate and reconcile with the bank accounts, but both Janet and I are convinced that it will be something that's worthwhile. What we're going to do though is to take it to full council, because we're proposing to use the council priorities budget to pay for that. It's about £790 a year for the annual licence, but in terms of time saved, I think it'll be well worth it. And on the back of some of the stuff we're doing with the online banking, which we'll talk about later, I think that'll dovetail nicely into starting to modernise the way that we deal with our finances. So just to make you aware that we're convinced that it's something we should push forward with.
I think about 790 seems relatively cheap, for the scope of the programmes. But I agree with taking it to full council. Have anybody any queries or questions? No. Right, banking. Peter and I have been working really hard to try and get Peter on as a signatory, Linda on as a signatory, internet banking. And because I was actually a signatory, I started the process this time because Peter still couldn't get on. They've mucked about, really, to be honest, with doing the 2 signatory applications. However, after going into Barclays here and getting some advice, speaking to people online, we now have Peter on as a signatory. We now have access to internet banking, or at least I do, because I've got all the bits and pieces. Excuse me. However, I haven't tried to open internet banking because I want basically approval that everybody's happy for a councillor to be looking at. In theory, I could action those accounts. What we want to do is for Peter to be able to action them, Janet to be able to action them, and for other councillors to look at them on a look-only basis, but to be able to see, and that way that's the control, if you like, because we can't have 1 or 2 people who can action it without some control from outside, and that way it makes the system safe. Are you happy for me to go on initially? Peter will be getting his stuff and going on. Can I just ask what you think of that, Martin?
So presumably at the moment there are 2 signatories on cheques.
No. Oh, I beg your pardon. Yes, I should actually go through and explain that. We have what we call a complex mandate. So we have to have 2 signatures on every cheque. What I did find out is that we also had one account with only 1 signature. It's the same signatories who could sign it, but only 1 was required. That's a pensions account, which Peter is now proposing that we pull the balance off that and put it into the main accounts. But there's something else on that. The signatories at the moment are myself, Bill Grisdale, Sue Patience, Alan Simmons, and crumbs. Who was the other one? Ken Moore. Now, Ken's been off the council for what, 4 or 5 years? Something like that. So we've got the forms to take him off the mandate. And at the same time, we will do forms to make sure that Linda goes on. Sue and Bill, what do you feel about staying on as signatories? I mean, I have no issue with that. Does anybody? No?
No.
Peter?
Well,
oh, Sue, go on.
no, I was just saying maybe one of us. I don't know if it needs both of us on. I mean, we're the same household, so
Yeah.
everyone.
Yes, I can see where you're coming from.
We can both write.
Sorry, Bill.
We can both write.
Right, Linda
We
first.
share pens. I don't know if that's allowed under current restrictions, but you know.
Linda.
Yeah, just is there a limit on the number of signatories? Because when I went into the bank for the 2nd or 3rd time, took my forms in, she said there was a limited number, that there was only a certain number allowed.
Yeah. I understand that the limit was 6, but apparently in councils it can be more. There was no absolute clarity on that, but it's certainly up to 6.
The number she told me was very low, it was something like 3, and I thought that was really bad, but it's not that.
No, it's
Good.
up to 6. Peter.
Yeah, Sue's done a great job this week in getting us over the first hurdle, which was to make me a signatory for the account, which is actually in the constitution that the clerk should be a signatory. Bill never actually decides to make himself a signatory, but it is within the constitution, so there's no change required there. Going forward, there's actually a whole basket of things that we need to have quite a careful look at if we are going to get things right. So, for example, the first step is, and it will be a big step forward for us, we'll be able to view the account online. That doesn't really require any constitutional change. Janet's very excited about that. Instead of waiting every month for the statement to arrive so we can do a reconciliation, but we need to take it further in that. We need to make sure that we can pay our creditors online safely. We need to make sure that we can purchase things online, which we can't at the moment, unless we rely on a staff member using their own bank account. And I'd like to find a way to digitally replace the petty cash system that we have at the cemetery. That's quite burdensome in terms of administration. Now, the way things will likely work, particularly with paying our creditors online, will be that the payment will be raised in the office by the officers and then approved by councillors. Probably 2. We might have to extend that to 3 because, and again, I need to investigate this further with Barclays now that I can speak to them. I think it would be foolish for just either Janet or I to be on as a raiser of the orders. So we might have to have 2 officers on there in case anything happens to Janet or I, who happen to be the person who was raising the payment digitally. So I need to look at all of this in the round. We need to make sure that whatever we do is in with the standing orders and the constitution. So there's quite a big bit of work to do there. We'll probably require some constitutional change. And I suspect that within probably the next month, we might have to have an extraordinary meeting of the Finance and Policy Committee to go through this detail, make sure that you guys are comfortable with it, and then we'll take it to full council for approval. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I just add, this separate account that we talked about had £9,800 in. Now, Peter wants to take away the petty cash thing at the cemetery because it is a pest. It takes a lot of time up sorting it out. and he wants the guys to have a debit card. And I'm suggesting that possibly if we left just a couple of £100 in that account, a couple of £100 or £100 in that account, then that's all they would be able to use. Peter, I can see you shaking your head. Peter Broom, sorry, you're on mute.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I would be giving debit cards to members of staff. I don't think that's a good idea because anything's open to fraud. At the moment, I use a card system at the moment for taking payments from my clients, and it's called SumUp. Now, I actually have a debit card that's attached to that, so you can load money onto that debit card, and it can only be used for what's on it. It can't go any further than that.
Yeah, we did try that, but Barclays don't do anything like that, so that's why we were looking at this other account. Peter,
SumUp's an independent company completely, and it's but what it is linked to a bank account because your payments go in. So you can have the money loaded onto a debit card, which I think might be
would be safer.
Yeah, safer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So perhaps
when I have so much money on it, I've transferred back to the bank. So.
Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Peter. My preference was for that for like a charge card, which is I think what you're talking about. Barclays didn't do that, so I need to investigate the safest way of doing that. But we do need to move away from the petty cash system, in my view, because that's as open to fraud as a debit card is, to be frank. So you know, we just need to track these transactions digitally to save, you know, a heck of a lot of admin time to focus on things that we should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if we put in the securities, it will protect you and Janet as well. That's a good point. Jeff.
Sorry, it's just a technical thing. I'm getting a lot of, I can hardly hear people because I'm getting a lot of echoing. I think a lot of people not on mute, so I don't know whether that's affecting it, but I'm struggling.
Do we need to everybody be on mute except those who are speaking?
Just I get echoes when you're speaking. I can hear about 2 or 3 seconds later. I don't know if it's because of that.
Could everybody go on mute and I'll stay and just speak and see if it's better for Jeff? Bill, could you? Right. What is that any better, Jeff? Now you're on mute, Jeff.
Sorry.
Yes,
that sounds much better. Thank you.
Okay. Well, maybe when we're not speaking, then we go on mute. Okay. Janet.
Peter and I also talked about maybe just getting a fuel card for the van, because it is mostly fuel we pay for with the petty cash. There's the odd £10 here and there for something else, but it's mostly for fuel. So we had said we might look just to get a fuel card for the van, and then that's all it could be used for.
All of this we'll wrap up in a package of proposals with the changes we think we need to make to the Constitution and the standing orders, get approved by you guys at Finance and Policy, and then take it to full council for approval.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Is everybody happy with that? Peter and Janet will work on getting a package together and we'll go from there. Grand, absolutely. So we have moved forward considerably with that. Grants, here we go. Janet, do you want to start on that?
Off mute. I sent out the sheet, I think it was yesterday, so hopefully everyone got that. Not quite as many as we usually get. Very few sports organisations, not many of them meeting. I did as Sue Patience asked last time. I emailed everyone and asked them to send them in by email, which most of them did. I just had one person meet me downstairs and sort of hand it over, but most of them came in by email, which was really handy. So I think we've only got about a dozen, I think, today to have a look at. And again, they're kind of split. The first page had sort of, you know, the big four, plus the kind of support and care grant applications. And then we've only got 1 sports application, 2 performance applications, and then 2 kind of other and environmental applications to go through. So do you want us to start with the big 4, Sue? Would that make sense? She's nodding. I'm taking that as a yes. The one thing we obviously that has to be in there already is the £15,000 for the Playhouse. That's our agreed 4-year grant for them. So they had 5,000 in 18-19. They had 10,000 last year. This year it's 15. Next year it will be 20. So that's in there already. The other, what I've done for you, I typed in the figures that people had asked for. Some people just always use the same figure. CAB, for example, always asked us for £6,000. They never get it, but they always ask us for £6,000. So you can see what they've actually asked for. I gave you what they've asked for the grant for. I've had a look at their accounts and given you their expenditure and their income from those accounts. What was quite useful this time, we changed the financial information slightly, and we'd asked for a current bank statement. I did find that was quite useful. Some of their accounts were actually March 2019, so they are a little bit old. So what you've got in the next column is you've got the unrestricted funds that they have to spend, and then the bottom figure is how much cash they have in the bank. Obviously what you've also got, and it isn't too easy to look, is obviously some of them cover the whole of Northumberland or the whole of the Northeast, and obviously that's how their accounts get presented. So they do not have, for example, just Alnwick. They can't give you the figures just for Alnwick. They know how much the projects they're asking for will cost, but they can't give me accounts for sort of Alnwick itself. But the first 3 are the usual 3, and I suppose if we agree those top 3, then that gives us a balance that we're working with throughout the others. I had spoken to Sue yesterday, and we did say we would perhaps leave a little bit in the grant budget for people who might not meet at the moment but might want to meet ready for next year, so we could have a look at them again perhaps in early sort of 2021. But just really £2,000 or £3,000 probably, in case any of those sports clubs come back to us. We were promised one by the football club, but it didn't arrive. So we've just got the cricket club. So yeah. So that's what you have. I do have all the applications. So if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to go through the forms. On the form.
Can I ask, are there any questions on the first 3 of the grants that Janet's mentioned? Are we happy with the amounts? I think we can take those as read, Janet.
Or are we suggesting that we give them all the same as we usually do, or?
Well, the Playhouse we've got is 15,000 anyway.
Yeah.
CAB.
Yeah.
We're looking at 2,500-ish.
That's what they got last year.
Yeah. Do we do the same again? Are we happy with that, Linda?
Those big 3 got £2,500 each.
Yeah. Linda.
I was thinking about this while Janet was just going through it, and there's a lot of hardship around, and a lot of people are requiring more help. Should we recognise that and increase the amount we usually give them?
Well, they've already helped 402 people this year, so obviously to me that seems as though the need has gone up.
Yeah.
What figure would you suggest?
I don't know, really. 3.5, another 1,000 or 3,000.
That's too patient.
Patience has got a hand up. I don't know if you can see it, Sue.
Yeah. Sue, you're on mute.
It doesn't work with the shift bar. Right. Yeah, I mean, they will increase. I mean, the problem has been up until now is access to CAB because of the restrictions that have been in place. But I think, kind of during the summer when restrictions were lifted a little and it became easier to access them, the numbers were going up. They've come down again slightly because of the access again. But I think once those restrictions are lifted again, if they are, you will see it go through the roof with CAB. And it's starting now to go into other services because of the kind of the one-to-one services that they deliver, people haven't been able to access. So it's doing it online, but not everybody can do that. So it's the hidden, kind of issues that are going to come up down the line. So I think we should be looking at least, kind of like £4,000 for them. They're going to need it,
Peter Broom, you're on mute, Peter.
I agree with Sue. And we've got to remember that we're dishing out quite a bit of taxpayers' money here. And I think it's got to be for the benefit of the people of Alnwick. And you've got to look at how many people are actually each individual payout that we're dishing out actually benefits lots of people. Well, looking at CAB, it looks like they cover a lot of people. But whereas maybe some other organisations maybe don't put as much in, if you know what I mean. So if you're going to, you've got to be careful how much money you actually dish out because we've got to stay within a reasonable budget. I don't want to be putting council tax up in December just to dish it all out to organisations that we shouldn't really be giving it to. But certainly CAB certainly looks, I agree with Sue, yeah, it should be increased.
Okay, John Humphreys, you're on mute, John. John, you're on mute. Thank you.
Right. Yes, I agree. Of course, it does need to increase. The only thing to remember is if we put it up to say 4,000, they will certainly expect it next year and the year after. It's not a one
next year. Then
it's not going to be a one-off, is it? This and then back down again to 2,500. So we've got to be careful how these increments increase. I mean, I agree with it. 2.5 is pretty paltry, and it does need to increase. But I think perhaps we need to be careful how big the jump is.
Linda Wern.
Well, there's two things. I was just going to ask Sue if she knew, has telephone referrals support increased with CAB as well?
Yes. Yeah, it has done. Yes, it has done, yeah.
And so they're actively working to still reach out to people and be available. And the other thing I was going to say was in response to John's comment, I think it would depend. They might be seeing even more people this time next year. So I think we review it again and maybe we say to them that we've given them the increased cut because we recognise that this is going to get increased, that their work is going to increase.
Jeff?
Yep.
Jeff, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was just going to say I agree with Sue. I think I like the second her proposal that it's increased to £4,000. John's point is a very good one about going up and then going back down. But I think we could put a note in when we respond to say that the reason we've increased it is that because we recognise that they're dealing with additional workload due to COVID.
Yeah. Bill?
Can I just say that that it's don't forget these figures are a finger in the air sort of thing. There's not based on anything practical, and they are a gesture from the town council towards organisations in the community which are helping the community prosper and survive, if you like. There is going to be quite a lot of need for the CAB coming up, and I think it's a good story. Obviously, we put a press release out about all this. And I think it's recognising the pressure that citizens of Alnwick have been in and that the CAB is there to help with any of their problems. I think there's going to be a lot of debt advice coming out and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, put it up to 4, whatever, 4, 5.
Yeah, I do agree. Does anybody disagree with £4,000 for the CAB? Then I think that one can go through, please, at 4,000. What was your next one, Janet? Sorry, you're on mute.
We've got Bailiff Gate and Hospice Care.
Right, Bailiff Gate, we've got as 2,500 recommended.
They asked for 2.5.
Year. Are we happy with 2.5 for them? I can see nodding heads, nobody objecting. 2. Mute again. Yeah.
Just to say yes. It was just
Okay.
agreeing.
I'm not nodding. I'm not nodding. I'm a trustee. I can't.
Yeah, Bill isn't having an opinion.
Right, so we've got Bailiff Gate is through. Hospice Care Northumberland, could I say something about this? I think in light of the fact that we're hearing so much about cancer cases not being dealt with because of COVID, I suspect that their need will go up considerably. We've got this sort of as a recommendation of what, 2,500-ish. I would like to see that one go up. I don't know what everybody else thinks. I can see nodding heads. A figure, I'd like to see 4,000 again. Can we do that? Any objections? No, I think that one's okay, Janet. 4,000 on that one, please. Right, what's your next ones?
The others are, they're the sort of support and care group, if you like. So we've got Community NE66, we've got NEED, we've got a new application from Community Action Northumberland, and then we've got Lion Hearts ANIC. You can see the figures that they've all requested. And again, you've got, yeah, certainly two definitely, if not 3, where their accounts aren't easy to look at because they are for quite a big area. Like Lion Hearts is Blythe Star Enterprises. They cover quite a big area.
Could I just come in on this? These are the 2 that I picked out, particularly Community Action Northumberland has expenditure of 333k and an income of 410. That is 70-odd thousand over than their expenditure. Lion Hearts expenditure 1.67 million as against income of 1.9 million. I don't think they should even be applying to a small council like ours. I really think, I mean, I don't know what their business is particularly, but for £1,000 or whatever, we can put that money somewhere much more local. That's my opinion. Sue? We've got Sue and then Linda.
Yeah, just a bit of background information about Community Action Northumberland. They do operate throughout the whole of Northumberland. They do run, actually from Gallery Youth, they do run a, it's like a job club. It's called an
employability hub, yeah.
Yeah, the employment hub. And that is just for ANIC people who are finding it long-term unemployed, who are finding it difficult to get employment. They started up again about 3 weeks ago from our premises, and they've been inundated with people.
Absolutely.
With people who are unemployed and can't get jobs. And again, that is just going to escalate. You know, it's not going to diminish at all. So they do operate locally, but they are a Northumberland-wide organisation. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Linda. You're on mute. Linda, you're on mute.
The space bar works sometimes, but not all the time to cut it off. Lion Hearts, where is the Costello Centre? Is that in ANIC?
Yeah, it's it's in Bailiff Gate.
Oh, right.
It's where the new the new hotel is.
Yeah.
There's like a gate in the middle. You go through and it's at the back of there. Yeah. They came to ANIC about 4 years ago. We gave them £200 in their first year. They just room hired. Now they're in ANIC every Tuesday, and they specialise in sort of people with mental health issues, disabilities. They run a men's only breakfast club, so they teach them to cook and they do all sorts of things like that. And the grant, this one, is to put on a 16-week arts and crafts programme for those people at the Costello Centre.
Yeah, well, that's specifically for people in ANIC, so I haven't got any objections to that one. and I think it's worthwhile. I think art's very useful in helping people with mental health issues and disabilities.
Any other comments? Shall we? I think we're going to have to take a vote on these. Right, so we've no more. So we're looking at Community Action Northumberland, a recommendation of around 1,000. Who is in agreement with that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that one goes through. And Lion Hearts, we're looking at £850. Who's in agreement with that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, they go through. What about Need now? We're looking at sort of recommendation for about 1,000. Everybody okay with that?
Can I ask what it specifically is for? Is it just for general? Or is it for
To
specific?
help cover the costs of keeping the vehicles COVID safe, shields, hand sanitizer and additional cleaning. This ensures that clients have still got access to transport.
Thank you.
Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah, I was just going to say Need have operated throughout the whole of COVID.
Yes, they have. Yeah, they were
Taken
very
people to hospital, done all sorts of stuff. So yeah.
I was just going to say the same thing. You know, that they were very good throughout COVID.
They didn't think twice about taking the vans out to do food parcels, not at all, you know, so yeah.
Yeah. So we're all happy with that. Are we happy with the amount? Do we want to leave it where it is or put it up? Peter? Sorry, you're on mute. Peter Broom, yeah?
Yes, it is.
Sorry, you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so that one can go through then. Right, where are we at now? Community NE66.
NE66, yeah.
I don't know anything about them at all.
Based
Sue?
at the community centre
Yeah, it's a
in
community.
Alnwick North.
So it's Alnwick North Community Centre.
Run by Hannah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Hannah McGinley.
yes, Hannah Molly, yeah.
Yeah.
Linda?
They're a half charitable organisation and they're half. Hannah still gets some income from Northumberland County
Yeah.
her salary, but they're moving over towards a being a completely community organisation, charitable organisation.
We've got Linda and then Jeff.
They did a lot of work during the lockdown, supporting children and families. And given what we've heard about the lack of free school meals coming up, the government's not going to support them. I would be in favour of supporting NE66.
Jeff?
Yeah, I just want to say that Hannah does an absolutely fantastic job.
She has done for a long time.
Team down there with the kids. I have no problem with supporting them.
And we've got the recommendation for £1,000 on that one. I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that one's through.
Biggest 2011.
I think we're getting on to the smaller ones now. Am I right, Janet? Alnwick Cricket Club. I've not
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Alnwick Cricket Club to help towards the cost of a new sight screen. Full cost is 2,640 and they're asking for just 640
£640. Yeah, they're hopeful of the money from elsewhere. I'll just find it for you. Here we go.
Sorry, Janet. I wasn't sure whether Janet was going to continue with what she was saying.
Sorry, yeah, I was just looking up their form, Sue, sorry. Yeah, they're either going to use some of their own reserves or they're getting money from elsewhere, but they are after, the full cost of the project is 2,640.
Yeah.
And they're after the 640 from the town council. So they've obviously got the 2,000 from elsewhere.
Yeah, Bill?
Didn't they ask for this last year? Weren't they after a sight screen last year?
No.
You sure?
Scoreboard.
Maybe I need a maybe it's
Scoreboard.
oh, a scoreboard. That
last
was it. I knew it
year.
was that. Maybe I need the side screen. You know, it's
Yeah.
something. Yeah, somebody build me a googly there. I missed
Oh, very good. Not a wide then.
it. No, not a wide. Nothing wide right here.
Apparently the wheel axles have bent on the old one.
They usually do, Janet. It's a common it's a
an
common
age
problem
thing.
with side screens.
I know.
Yeah.
Right, Lionheart Radio. To contribute towards the cost of licenses and insurance. Total 6,120. Other costs covered by grant, and they're asking for, where are we? £1,760.
Yeah, a little bit of background, Sue, if I could.
Yes, please.
They didn't apply last year. They thought they had, but either our server blocked their application or their server blocked. We're not sure, but they didn't get a grant last year. So Anne said they struggled to buy. That probably means Anne paid for something herself, which is usually what happens. And I was going to bring it to a meeting earlier this year, but then obviously we didn't have any meetings earlier in the year. So I think that's why they've asked for a little bit more. They also know that they have already got a grant via the Community Foundation for the other £4,357.
Mhm.
They have a lady who's promised that money. So what they're looking for is as much of that remaining money as they could possibly have, please.
Have we any
She
comments?
said, bearing in mind we didn't have one last year. I said I would pass that on.
And just on that, sorry to interrupt there, but that would be the exceptional circumstance, I think, for the over and above the £1,000, Janet. That's the point there.
Yeah.
Is everybody in agreement that we'll give them what they've requested? Bill and Sue and Martin.
Just to say, I've just, strangely enough, from a computer, I've got the minutes from the finance meeting of December the 22nd, 2011, 9 years ago. And we gave Lionheart Radio 500 quid then. It's looking at the other figures, they've not gone up very much. You know, we're very, you know, it's inflation hasn't hit our bids. Just an interesting one there. You know, we've been pretty consistent, but perhaps we need to take a bit more of an active role in these things. That's all I'm saying.
Right, Sue and then Martin. Sue, did you?
Sorry, I was just agreeing, Sue.
Oh,
again.
right,
I was
yes.
just voting.
Oh, I agree as well.
voting.
Yes.
Martin, you got your.
Yeah, I was just supporting that £1,760.
So we're all happy with the 1760. Fine. Where am I up to? Alnwick Music Society to contribute towards the cost of the 2021 concert at Alnwick Playhouse, St Paul's and St Michael's churches, and daytime concerts involving local schools and organisations working with the elderly. They're requesting £1,000. John.
What did they do with last year's money? I mean, there haven't been any concerts.
I don't know. Have we any answer on that?
You know, this is it.
Let me have a look.
Yeah.
Can we ask Linda? Because Linda, can you answer that?
It's the Music Society, not the festival. I
Yeah.
don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
I think they did do something online. I think I saw something in the post office window, but I really don't know.
Yeah, but normally with a concert, they pay a fee to the churches, don't they? I know at St Paul's, but they pay about £200, £250 to hire the church.
Did we give them a grant last year, Janet?
Yes, we did. We gave
Yes.
them.
It was for music last year. I
Yeah,
think,
last year
wasn't
it was for sheet music they wanted last year, because you have to pay. The licenses are quite heavy to have things copied for physical music.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that's what they wanted last year.
Okay.
And I imagine what happened is they had to buy it, or they'd bought it, and then obviously the concerts didn't run. I
No.
imagine they're going to use the same sheet music next year. Mike is very hopeful that they will be able to put on concerts. They're very positive about that. So.
Okay, fair enough.
Sue.
Yeah, just to support the music and arts, which we are desperately losing at the moment. anything that supports music.
So we've recommended 1,000, which they've asked for. Is everybody happy with that? Martin, you're on mute.
Yes.
Good. Okay, that's fine. That one. Investing in ANIC. To contribute towards the cost of the Looking Forward project made up of 3 events: an Arts and Crafts Day, an International Women's Day, a centenary celebration of Column Field. There's nothing put in about expenditure and income on this one, and asking for £1,000. I'm a little bit concerned myself about the centenary celebration of Column Field. I feel that should be council doing.
Centenary +1, isn't it?
I don't know, Sue.
Just wondering, why haven't we got any income and expenditure?
Well, I would question that before we do anything, we should see that.
Yeah, they don't have accounts. They're too new to have had accounts. So I asked for the bank details, and that's what you have there. So you've got Loving ANIC have 6,000 in the bank, and Investing in ANIC have £575. But I don't have any accounts information at all.
We do have breakdown of costs for the project, though, don't we? Within the
yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do, and it does not include all the things that we said we would not pay for last year.
I don't know. Everywhere else, we've got expenditure and income. Yeah. What do we think?
I mean, I can ask for more information before you decide. We can provisionally allocate money with the understanding that they provide us with the relevant information before we give them the cheque, which we do. You know, we have done before.
Yeah, Jeff and then Linda. Jeff?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable, Janet. I mean, they're too new to have accounts. They haven't got accounts, but
they are, yeah.
I would have thought they would still keep a spreadsheet of some kind to. It's just to tick the boxes, really, Janet. But I think, on the whole, shouldn't this come out of the events budget?
Well, quite possibly, Jeff. And the way that I've looked at it, because it's coming to the grant process, was that actually they're badging it as a project, which happens to have a number of events attached to it. So I'm quite happy that we can push it through the grant. We could push it down the events route and look at them individually if we wanted to, but I think there's enough, for me, there was enough information there to push it in as a project that happened to have events to it.
Linda?
I think actually, if you look at any of the applications that come in, we're talking about a 16-week program. Is that an event? You know, there's grey areas all over the place with this sort of thing. But I'm certainly happy that we, it can go through as a grant.
Linda, you're still on mute. Oh, there you go.
I was just going to say exactly the same as Jeff. That I would agree with the money, providing we've got a bit more detail on their income and expenditure.
So we're looking at the two together, the £1,000 for Loving ANIC, £1,000 for Investing in ANIC and 400 for Loving in ANIC. Are we happy if we ask for further information? They must have some form of accounts. Must.
The only thing that they sent in with their Investing in ANIC was a kind of inputs and outputs spreadsheet. I couldn't really find a total, so I need to go back, and it must make sense to Linda. Didn't make much sense to me.
Could we ask her to just clarify for us? Yeah. The difficulty with this is that we've knocked stuff back over 2 or 3 years with them, haven't we?
Yeah.
And I don't want them to think that, we're refusing stuff when really we're trying to keep it in line with everybody else. Sue?
Could you ask for a bank statement from them?
Yes, that would be sensible.
I've got a bank statement, Sue.
Oh, you have. So you've got.
That's why I could give you I knew that they had £575 in the bank.
Oh right, so you have got a total.
I have got a bank statement. That's yeah.
Right.
I'd just like to say I wish Dido Harding's test and trace had come through this committee. Saved the country a bit of money, I think.
It's more about the expenditure as well, because she did, Loving ANIC did an International Women's Day based on, what was it? Suffragettes, and that probably cost a fair bit of money. But yeah, it's how much sponsorship they're getting and how much they are. How, do you know what I mean? How much income and how much is income and how much is going out around those events. So that gives us a bit of an idea.
Yeah, if I send you what Linda said, what Linda gave me, and then if you have a look and if you've got any questions, I can go back to her. In the International Women's Day, it looks like it cost £1,440.
Yeah, I would imagine it would be.
That was for the White Swan. That was the payment for the meals, I think, at the White Swan. Then they've got some expenditure on on sort of room hire, little bit on like insurance, and then they've got a list of grants. But it doesn't add it up, and it doesn't. Yeah, because some of those grants will obviously be restricted. They'll just be for a particular project.
Yeah, absolutely. And Linda did show me some monies last year, and like you, Janet, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But I'm absolutely useless with numbers, so
I'd like to think I'm not, but it made no sense to me.
Absolutely.
Straight into the figures. Jen?
Yeah, I mean, they do some good stuff. Let's be fair. Can I propose that we nod those figures through on the understanding that we get some supporting information. So I'm happy for that to go through. I mean, three events, and
I'm happy to second that.
Yeah.
Is everybody in agreement? Provided we get some more information, I think that would be that's more than adequate.
That satisfies Janet. That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So those go through, and I think that is it.
So what two figures have you got for that, Sue?
Sorry, we've got
two figures
about
have you got for that?
1,000 for investing in ANIC and 400 for loving ANIC.
That's fine. Okay, I'll just work out how much money you've got.
And the rest we divide amongst ourselves. That's the rule, isn't it?
Yeah.
After Christmas, when we check if nobody else wants it.
There might be enough left for a holiday.
Way. Have you seen they brought the Mykonos and all these others are now off the list? We can go to the Greek islands. Peter, the next one, Constitution update. I think this is you.
Two seconds, Sue. Sorry, I think Janet was just going to total up what we've got to do with the. It'll be 3,000 plus whatever the original recommendation was, Janet, I think.
Yeah, £850 that leaves in the grants pot.
Yeah. So just on that, I think, bearing in mind that there are a number of organisations that traditionally applied and haven't, if you did want to make some more available, I think it would be a case of going to full council to tap into that council priorities budget if you so wanted to.
But we could do that if we had to.
Yeah.
Jeff?
Just for information, although we haven't confirmed it yet, the spring show is unlikely to go ahead next year, so
that's a shame.
Probably won't be applying for a grant, so that wouldn't be in the pot.
I think at this point we have to take any grant applications that come in literally one by one and see what we think, because we've no idea what the situation will be come Christmas or after Christmas. So if everybody's happy with that 850 will just stay in reserve, and then okay. Right, on to Constitution. Peter.
Yeah, this should be very brief. It's just a little bit of a heads up. Finance and policy. I did some work. Well, Alan Waiton very kindly did a piece of work just before he resigned from the council, which really pulled together a lot of decisions that have been made on a constitutional change over the last few years and just tidied the document up. So probably tomorrow I'm going to circulate that document with all of the councillors, just so that we're all comfortable with the live version of the constitution that we have, and we'll take it to the next full council just to get it approved as the most up-to-date version, because there were some inconsistencies in the version that I had, and Alan, and I do thank him for it, has tidied those up. So I'll be sending that out tomorrow, hopefully.
Okay. Anybody got any questions?
Exciting stuff.
No, but it's so basic. If we don't have the constitution right, we don't know what we're working to, do we? Martin?
Well, normally in a normal year, so we say we normally have a constitution working group.
Yeah.
Is it worth doing that before we take it to full council? That's all I'm wondering. Obviously, Alan's done whatever he's done.
Yeah.
Is it worth the councillors having a good look?
Given that there are no changes, Martin, it's just actually tidying the document up. My view is it doesn't need to go anywhere other than full council just to be nodded through. But I think the big change this year is going to be around the standing orders and the financial regs. My preference is just to use finance and policy before full council for that, rather than set up a separate committee, given it is finance based. So that's my preference for the way forward.
So you'll email that out to us probably tomorrow, or?
The constitution, that I've got.
Okay.
It'll take me a couple of weeks to get all the finance stuff to pull together, but my preference is to go through finance and policy with that.
Right. And we're happy. Is that okay, Martin? Yeah, you're happy with that?
Yeah, that's fine. It was just, it's sort of procedural to go through it once a year, but if we're going to go through it in terms of the obviously the banking changes and everything, that's probably a point we can check anything else that we've got to follow.
Right. Any other urgent business? Martin.
Okay, this is something which, well, to be honest, trying to get my head around, but something for a future meeting. But I know that Peter Broom brought this up about a year ago, I think, the idea that we took on an apprentice as a council. Obviously, we're in a situation at the minute where lots of young people are going to be looking for jobs, and if we, there's been other meetings where we've been talking about extra things that the council could do and maybe ought to be doing on the kind of practical side of things around the town. And I wonder whether it's worth putting onto a future agenda to look at the idea of taking an apprentice with the guys at the cemetery to expand what they can do.
Sue. Sorry, you're on mute.
Peter, do you want to respond first? Because we've had a chat about this, haven't we? Or we kind of, and Jeff at the allotments about taking on an apprentice with Ian and Sid and the other Ian. Do you want to say something then, Peter, about that?
Yeah, Peter and Jeff are both on mute. Peter, yeah.
Do you want me to have a speak, or did you want Peter Haley to speak?
Oh, sorry, Peter.
Oh, sorry, Peter. Peter Haley.
Oh, Peter.
All right, yeah. Well, there is actually, we did make a decision last year to appoint an apprentice to work with guys in the cemetery and generally the rec community stuff. The COVID situation's obviously meant that that's been really difficult to appoint anybody at this time. But I think that budget is a recurring budget, so we have £8,000 in the budget for the apprentice, and that will be in next year's baseline. So, as far as I'm concerned, when the time is right, COVID's perhaps disappeared a little bit and people are looking for work, then we can push on with it, straight away without needing to make a decision on that.
Can I just jump in there and say that Peter actually did start work on this before COVID went down and looked at Northumberland County Council scheme. So there's been work done already, and it's only been because of COVID that it hasn't progressed.
Yeah, just to follow up on Linda's point, there's one of the struggles that we had was actually finding a scheme that suited the work that we have. Yeah. But we have got a scheme, I think, that's sort of pretty, because they have to get a qualification at the end of it. We have got a scheme that we think is pretty close to the work that the guys do. So we're just about ready to go. But my view at the moment is it's not the right time, given that we're working from home as senior officers as well. It's not been the right time to bring somebody into the organisation, especially at that age.
John and then Martin.
Yes, obviously, as it's related to the cemetery, I spoke quite a lot about this with the Ians and so on. And agreeing totally with Peter that we definitely need a proper planned scheme. We can't just take somebody on and get them to do the dog's body work. It has to be that working towards a qualification.
Agree.
And yeah, you're right. I think certain things were put in. I don't quite know how far we've got, Peter. Perhaps we can have a chat about that at later date. But yeah, it's the COVID thing which has held things up. But it's definitely an ongoing project
Okay.
as far as the cemetery is concerned, anyway.
Martin, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. I suppose the difficulty with COVID, obviously, is that nobody knows anything about when it's going to disappear. But it would be nice to think that into the spring we could actually be in a position to do this. I mean, COVID probably won't have disappeared by the spring, but I think we need to work towards doing it, because there will be a lot of people out there, and it's something we can do and bring somebody on, something we can do as a council.
Excellent. Any other matters? Peter Broom.
Yes, council van. We haven't reviewed that for a long time. What status is it, Peter? Are we due for an upgrade, or?
It's just had its MOT without any issues. I think it's 4.5 years old now. Is that right, Janet? Yeah, about 4.5 years old.
What's the mileage on it?
I couldn't tell you what the mileage is on it, I'm afraid.
Very, very low.
I don't think it'll be significant.
No, very low.
Yeah, pretty low. So there's certainly the guys have not been saying it's time to replace it. Happy to have a look at that, Peter, if you want. I think one thing we did decide when I first joined the council was looking at the potential of you getting the next vehicle being an electric vehicle.
Yeah.
So whether that's something that I'll have a look at whilst I'm looking at it.
Well, I know Martin Swinbank now has a electric van, and maybe you can give us a little bit of input on that, Martin.
Yeah, electric van is absolutely great. And if you're not using it for many miles, I mean, mine's quite an old model, 5 years old, and it has a range of about 60 miles, which does me absolutely fine. So I imagine for what the guys do in the town, it'd be absolutely brilliant. Have no issues with it, and obviously there's different vans now on the market. It's not just the Nissan and anything. So definitely, yeah, I would advise we look at that route.
I can do a financial model. I'm happy to do a financial model which looks at the cost of replacing it with an electric version, as now, or when it might be even more financially viable to do it. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Can I just say at this point, I've had information from Richard Mackenzie that the new charges coming into Alnwick, we'll have 3 more on the road behind the shops. What's it called?
Greenwell Road.
Greenwell Lane.
Thank you. Honestly, the brain's going. These will be the 7 kilowatt slower ones to encourage people to stay in the town as and when things get back to normal. But there'll also be more charges going in on the car park behind the old high school. So we're getting to it. The taxis are still hogging the charges, but I'd like to think about maybe putting in a charger into the cemetery area.
We would do.
Yeah.
We would do. When we got an electric van, it's one of the things we have down as a to-do, so yeah.
Yeah, it is,
yeah. You can get the type like we have on the house, which is very slow and will charge overnight.
Yeah.
And doesn't cost a lot. That's great. Sorry, Jeff, you wanted to say.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Where would we be charging it? We'll obviously have to build that cost into the replacement.
Well, actually, with EVs, you get a charger given free. I don't know about with vans, if you buy a new van, but we got our chargers free. So it might be it's worth asking. Anything else, anybody? Well, that's been a really good meeting. Closed at 19:39. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Peter,
Bye,
good night,
everyone.
everybody. Peter, are you around tomorrow for a quick chat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, no problem at all.
Just something I forgot to talk to you about the other day when we were speaking.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye all.